Greetings, amigops and top turners everywhere. This is Mike from Top 10 with Kyle and Mike. I am joined this week, as I am every week, by our backlit appears to be crew neck t-shirted, not the v-neck, which is what the kids wear these days, co-host Kyle. I am enjoying a nice cup of peppermint tea, but most importantly, Kyle is joined by delightful, beloved brother-in-law of the pod, Ian. Ian is rocking a People Persons Paper People Dunder Mifflin shirt right now. He is ready to roll. I wonder if we could possibly be discussing The Office. Maybe we'll be discussing one of Ian's many other interests. At any rate, we'll be talking about a topic on this episode for somewhere around an hour. And in that hour, we will discuss the topic, debate it vigorously, rank it, re-rank it. And then by the end of the episode, we will have a definitive top 10 list of that thing. So, gents, what are we talking about?
Hey guys, so Mike, you hit the nail right on the head with that one, my assessment of the shirt. So I'm wearing my office shirt, Dunder Mifflin Paper Company. We are talking about the top 10 Creed moments this week.
Wow. Can I just say, I'm feeling thematically aligned because Caroline recently got a Squeezy McBlind Guy or Blind Guy McSqueezy sticker, and he's just looking at me right now. So I'm ready for this.
Yeah, wow. Mike had a Michael Scott sticker on hand for this. This is pretty good. We're all in, everyone has some kind of office attire now except for me, so I feel pretty stupid.
Yeah, you kind of look like an idiot.
This is a long-awaited spiritual, well, I guess spiritual only in the sense that you've done 2 podcasts in the interim, but this is a pretty direct sequel to your Dwight K. Schrute podcast.
Episode 31. Yeah.
I'm surprised we haven't done more like character-based episodes like this, but we couldn't possibly go back to The Office well without having Ian on, so it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I just want to say, before we really commence this list, I will be redacting the identity of this person, but I just want you guys to know there is a person in my life who my dad and I compare very closely to Creed. So wow. Every time I see and think of Creed, I'm thinking of this person.
I really want to meet that person.
And it makes me very happy. Maybe.
I was going to say, if they're anything like Creed, I don't think I want to be involved.
It's either you really want to meet him or you want nothing to do with him.
I want to be involved with him if I need a worm guy. Or if I'm looking for some mung beans.
That's not a tapeworm. Oh, man, I love Creed. I'm so into this.
Yeah, and we have the expert here, so I'm sure, and I know for a fact that Ian has, again, applied his prestigious research abilities. So I'm confident this will be an ironclad list.
Well, I was about to do a series rewatch like I did for the Dwight podcast, and then I got to season 3, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm good. I think I got it. Because in total, Creed only has 405 lines of dialogue through 9 seasons. Or,
wow,
like 8.5, because really he doesn't talk in the back half of season 9 that much because like something else we'll get into. And then his first line actually isn't until like season 2, episode 6. And so for the first 6 of season 1 and like the first 6, like for 12 episodes, this guy doesn't even talk.
This is what the people come here for. It's knowledge like this from the heavy-hitting outsiders we bring in.
He strikes me as the kind of character that developed over time just because as they were filming, they realized they couldn't in good conscience leave an actor that was contributing so much out of the actual show. This happened with... This happened with Scrubs and the janitor. Like, the janitor was not supposed to be a big part of that show, and I can't remember, Neil Flynn, the actor, was just too good to not have in it, and I assume the same thing happened with Creed. I believe the actor's name is Creed Bratton.
Well, so that's the best part, and I'm sure, like, we'll want to talk about this. His name is Creed Bratton, and Ian, do you have his background folded into one of the particular topics, or can we talk about it at the top?
One of the particular topics, I think I know what you're getting into. It's rather high on the list, so...
Okay, alright, well then let's talk about it later, but let's just agree that exactly what Kyle is saying happened, and it happened because the real Creed Bratton, his life is interesting enough to warrant this attention.
Yeah.
Ian, I'm ready if you are.
Yeah, let's hit number 10.
Alright, so right before we get into that, though, so I have to get a big shout out to my supervisor at work, Bill King. He helped me with the Dwight list, he helped me with the SpongeBob list, and he has a major contribution in this one, too. So, potential future guest, Bill King.
Anytime. Anybody who can help you, like, who can actually contribute to helping you with those topics is an expert we need. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you'll see it come in handy work here. So number 10, it is Creed Bratton has never declared bankruptcy. When Creed Bratton gets in trouble, he transfers all debt to William Charles Schneider. That comes from season 4, episode 4, Money.
One of my favorite Creed lines of all time. It's so good and it's delivered so perfectly.
This is pretty low on the list because it's like, I think it's funny, but it's also ridiculous that he has 2 identities. Because William Charles Schneider has never been mentioned, and it's just very obscure, and it's hilarious to think about because he just has this backup identity he transfers all his debt to.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk about at some point that he is an expert in that art.
I was going to say, like,
creating fake identification.
Based on everything we know about Creed, it's actually kind of a necessity that he has some kind of like burner accounts that he can move money around and some offshore stuff, because the amount of money, probably cash, that he has to figure out is a lot. And it's hard to do so through strictly legal means.
I don't know if you guys, because I know Kyle, I'm trying to remember now whether you guys watched any of the seasons kind of when they were first broadcast.
Not I. Nope.
So I got into it later, but I was live maybe starting like Michael's last season, somewhere around there. I don't know. But there was a lot of question about who the Scranton Strangler was. Like, people thought that was actually going to play a part on the show, and there was serious rumors out there that Michael was going to turn out to be the Scranton Strangler. And
wow.
Creed was out there as a dark horse, and I would have totally bought it.
The main suspect they have now is Toby. Everyone thinks Toby's a Scranton
Well, I mean, come on.
You never know.
Toby choked himself.
Are you ready for number 9?
Yeah, it's a hot start to the list.
That is a hot start.
So number 9 comes from season 3, episode 2. This is the convention. This is where Jim and his boss meet Michael and Dwight at the convention in Philadelphia. And so Michael gets some per diem. And basically, Angela is sitting in the kitchen area and she's eating her cereal. And Creed comes out and says, "I saw you handing out some shekels. What's a fella got to do to get on that train?" She goes, "That was per diem for Philadelphia." Then Meredith says, "That whole town smells like cheesesteaks." And then the whole town smells like history. And then she leaves. So the moment that's number 9 is when Creed sits down.
Great.
When Creed sits down, he goes, "Andrea's the office bitch. You get used to her. Hi, Creed." He introduces himself to a woman he sits across from.
It's like one of the most perfect. It's just one of the most perfect lines I've ever heard, and it was delivered so perfectly. Like, that's a funny line on the page, but the actor Creed makes that so perfect. It's delivered just with no affect.
The funniest part to me is he's sitting down and he eats the bowl of cereal that's right in front of him. It's not even his cereal. He just eats it. And like, Creed, and he puts his hand out for Meredith to shake like they've never met before.
At this point,
I also want to say it gets funnier with some revelations that we get later about him and Meredith.
Oh.
Oh, fuck.
We won't talk about that on the list. You can mention that now if you want.
I mean, they did it. He and Meredith got it on. And so either he was able to recover from this, or it happened before this. I like to think it happened before this.
Well, he didn't remember either, right? He goes,
correct.
"Have you ever?" And he goes, "Yep." And then he just like shakes his head because he doesn't remember it.
Wow. I'm sure we'll talk about later his memory for such things.
It's very outside. It's a lot of mud. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But at this point in the show, when he introduces himself to Meredith, whether or not they've slept together at this point, we can confidently say they've at least worked together for 3 years. Yes. And they sit directly next to each other, right? The floor plan is like such that if their computers weren't there, they'd be looking directly at each other.
The thing is, though, is Creed moves seats so many times in this series that you just don't notice it. Like,
really?
But in this particular case, he is in the pod by himself, closest to, I believe it's what would be then Daryl's office, and then Meredith is one behind him, closer to accounting.
Got it.
I think they look at each other still, though. I'm not totally sure because, like I said, Creed moves around a bunch.
The point is,
he should still have bumped into her on the way to the bathroom at least. You know what?
Exactly.
He should definitely have bumped
in the
into her on the way to
bathroom.
the bathroom. Yes.
That's amazing.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So number 8 is I think you were talking
Wait,
about
can
this
we
earlier.
can we rewind for just a second? Because I know that Creed Bratton, the actor, has a reputation for ad-libbing a lot of his lines. What percentage chance do you give the last bit where he just introduces himself on a whim? How much do we want to bet that was not written ahead of time?
I'll give about an 85% chance that was not written. And it can only
I'm
come
with
from
Ian
Creed
there.
Bratton's.
That feels like the definition of something that could have been ad-libbed on the spot. I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if it wasn't made up on the spot by him.
Can you picture yourself being Meredith in that situation though, and like having to hold it together when something hilarious just happened? Because I don't want to have to refilm it because it's so like.
Because you don't want to lose the magic of the first time it
it was
happened.
so good. Can you imagine having to stay
Well,
in character?
I know that it was difficult because I've seen it. Like, people had a hard time working with Steve Carell because he would make them laugh. But I have to imagine with a character like Creed who's saying things that you're not prepared for, that was also probably something similar, especially given how funny his stuff is. But anyways.
I kind of now hope that they intentionally didn't tell the other characters Creed's dialogue because that would be really fun to elicit natural reactions from it.
Sure. Are we ready for number 8?
Yeah, what's number 8 there, Ian?
So you were just talking about this one. It comes from season 3, episode 1, Gay Witch Hunt. It's, I'm not offended by homosexuality. In the 60s, I made love to many, many women, often outside, in the mud, in the rain. So if a man slipped in, it's possible. There'd be no way of knowing.
I see. This is one of my favorite lines because I think I would dispute that last point. I understand his basic thesis about the mud, but no way of telling? I don't know about no way of telling.
I think maybe I'm reading too much into this. I think the subtext is implying something that's, and like, means that if you were not paying close attention, there might be no difference to tell. But I don't know, like, how far we're supposed to.
No, it's definitely that dirty, but I'm saying there's some difference. Even if it's reduced by the mud, there's some difference.
Yeah. You would hope so. You would, based on what we know of Creed and his use of recreational and maybe not so recreational drugs.
Yeah.
That may be a contributing factor. It is kind of funny to imagine Creed being sexually active, but don't think about it too much because, again, it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it'll get kind of gross. It reminds me of Kingsman. Is kind of what I'm picturing, like that festival, Kingsman 2.
Oh, ew.
Gross.
Although it's pretty good for Creed. Like that's as fucked as it kind of is. Like at the end of the day, it's a pretty forward approach to sexuality.
It's being pretty
Yeah, he's an open guy. He's definitely a cool guy. Like, there's no question. That's not the way I've chosen to live my life, but I'm happy for him for being so open.
I wonder if he and Oscar ever get together on this.
No, there's not enough mud.
I didn't mean get together. I meant like get together on this topic and chat about the...
Oh, I would really like to see that. I feel like that's a deleted scene somewhere.
Probably.
Ian, did you find a way to broach the concept of a not top 3 with Creed?
Yeah, I don't even know what you would do.
Oh boy, I did.
Okay.
I definitely did.
Beautiful.
You guys smell that?
I smell something wafting.
Delicious. Kevin!
Thank you, Kevin. Beautiful work.
We do not know Kevin.
We do not know Kevin.
We do not know Kevin.
All right, so my approach for this one was when I feel like Creed has this master plan at all times, and he knows when he needs to abort mission or like get out of it.
Sure.
And so my 3 are when things did not go according to Creed's underlying plot. So, like for instance, number 3 is when he almost gets caught with narcotics in his office in season 5, episode 9, Frame Toby. It's when the Dwight tips him off because they think that Toby has weed, which they're framing him because Michael wants him gone.
That's right.
The caprese salad.
Yeah, so then the cops come up to pay him, like, we had a possible tip-off of a narcotic situation. And then Creed stands up and, like, has his hands on his head. And he's like, oh, my God. And then he goes to confessional, and it's like, let's just pretend like we're talking until the police leave. Because he almost gets caught, because he has narcotics.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's best about that is the implication that he very much has them on his person in a workplace environment.
Yes.
Which, I've never done that, but imagine it's probably not generally per company policy.
It's probably kind of
I would think that that's frowned upon. There was a time in my office when some of the younger employees were getting into vaping at their desks.
Really?
And yeah, not like pot, like vaping, whatever you vape. I don't know, weird oils. And it got really nefarious. Like people like ducking and, kind of leaning under their desks. And it was a lot.
Did they ever like wear a long sleeve shirt and like put it up their sleeve and like blow back into the sleeve? Because that's what the kids...
Is that what the young kids do?
That's what the high schoolers do, yeah. They wear a hoodie and they blow into the hoodie.
The only problem with this is that I just don't view Creed as having enough shame to do that. Like, I don't view him thinking he has to hide, really.
I feel like he would just drop a tab of LSD at his desk with no shame.
I was going to say,
seems likely.
Like, the concept of vaping is just so far beyond what Creed would ever consider. Like, LSD is a more appropriate assumption for what he has at his desk.
Mm-hmm. Well, because he talks about being a cult leader in the 60s and 70s, and you can only imagine that.
That's true.
Did he do it as a leader or a follower?
Both. It's more fun as a follower, but you get more money as a leader.
Of course. Alley-oop.
So number 2 on the top 3 is season 9, episode 4, which is Work Bus. It's where they see a man in like a 50s, 60s style suit, and then Dwight pulls over.
I picture him with like the coat over his arm. Like I picture him getting onto the bus, like holding his jacket on his arm.
He has like a briefcase, I think, too. He's like, oh no, he has nothing. He's hitchhiking. He waves at the bus. He takes off his sunglasses when he gets in. It's like, I'm playing a little hooky from work today. Oh my God. He sees all his coworkers in the bus. And it's not talked about.
Incredible.
It's never talked about.
Does he stay on the bus?
I don't even know, because that's toward the end.
I'm looking at this right now. He's wearing a boater. He's got like, he looks like Jay Gatsby. This is just incredible.
And I said this doesn't go to his plan because obviously he was trying to get on a different bus, and he just happens to get on the same bus that all of his coworkers are on.
I like the implication that on a day where he intentionally was not intending to go to work, his plan was to hitchhike. Like, that was probably his plan A.
When you know he has a car. You know he has a car because he peeled out of the office that one time.
So maybe it wasn't his plan A, in which case I would love to see a spin-off episode of what, like back into how Creed ended up on that highway needing to hitch on a bus.
I mean, the best part is if you need to do that spin-off, I think Creed is available.
I gotta say, pretty safely, I think Creed has the time.
Creed Bratton has a TikTok, just saying. Just putting it out there.
Come on.
It's great.
That's incredible.
It's fantastic. So then...
And a blog.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that
later.
later.
Yes, it
does. So the not top 3 is from the finale, when his plan ultimately fails and he finally gets arrested and delivers one of the most eloquent lines of like monologue from modern TV, is when he's getting taken out of the building and he looks like one of those Taliban leaders with the really long beards, and he's still in a suit. It's and he's talking about what the point of all of it was, and he's like, I'm ready, let's do this. And then they drag him off into assumably a high security prison.
It was incredible. That's like you reference it, but like it's important to emphasize what a beautiful TV moment that was. It was actually really nice. He's talking about how it's like it was so arbitrary.
Yeah.
And it is. And it was cool. It's about how they all became a family and it was all kind of an accident. And it's obviously sort of meta because that's the case with the show too. But I love that. I love how he went off screen. And I thought it was cool to let him jump in from the top rope there. Because it was very unexpected, and he earned it. He was a great character for all those years.
What I really like about Creed is he is arguably the only character in the show that they don't crank up to 11 throughout the series. I feel like he either just starts weird or gets gradually weirder.
Also, like, that's actually a good point. Like, Creed has no discernible arc or, like, meaningful... like storylines. Like everybody here or there has an episode or like has a small arc in the show, and like you were saying, Ian, towards the end they kind of like ratchet everybody up
to compensate for Michael leaving, and then
and yet Creed is untouched by any of this development whatsoever. Like at the beginning he's the creepy old weird guy in the office, and at the end he's the creepy old weird guy in the office, and nothing has changed.
We'll talk about individual episodes because Creed gets 2 of them, but we'll mention those a little later.
Excellent.
So something catastrophic
Beautiful.
just happened where I deleted my list.
Oh.
But I have a backup copy. Do not
Wow.
worry.
You're more prepared than we are.
Oh
So
my god, yeah.
we're number 7, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So number 7 is this blog, Creed Thoughts. This comes from season 3, episode 23.
I assume you have the actual URL because I want to hear it.
I'm holding it in front of Kyle right now. So I'll read only a little bit of it because it's not very long, but I don't want to bore you. So it starts off by saying, "Hey yo, everyone out there in cyber world, it's old Creed Bratton coming at you again. Here for my perch as quality assurance manager at Thunder Mifflin Paper."
Wait, this is an actual blog somewhere?
Yeah, this is what he wrote on his screen.
Oh, so someone like screen captured it?
And he's like, "Just a few observations of the world around me. What do you guys think is the best kind of car? To me, you can't beat motorcycles. They're small and dangerous. I got into a car accident yesterday and I just took off. It didn't look too bad. The guy was making a big deal out of it, but come on. Dogs don't live forever. Sometimes when I'm sick or feeling blue, I drink vinegar. I like all kinds. Balsamic, vodka, orange juice, leaves."
What the best part about this is the what Ryan says. Do you have that in your brain there, Ian?
Yeah, so Ryan says one day Creed asked me to open up a blog for him or how to start one, and wanting to save the world from Creed, I just opened up a Word doc, type in a URL, and told him it was a blog. And then it cuts to Creed, and it's like www.creedthoughts.gov.backslash.www.creedthoughts. Check it out.
You say something, he's like, "I read it. It was pretty weird, even for the internet."
Yeah.
I feel like those two actually would have been a fun superhero pairing. Like, I would have enjoyed the Creed and Ryan pairing for a couple episodes.
I'm surprised there isn't some kind of storyline wherein Ryan is using Creed to get all of
his drugs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like just something like that. That would have been a good time. Like when they go to New York and he's got his little friend, having Creed there would have been hilarious. Like him just sitting in the back of the club giving a nod.
Yeah, like it's implied that Creed is supplying him or pulling the strings, but just enough in the background so that he can't be attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of surprised we didn't get that.
I'm a little upset that we didn't get that. So after I deleted my list just now, because my finger slipped on the delete key of my notes thing, I had to just throw in an honorable mention at number 6 because it got messed up with the order of it. So the one that I'm going to put in, just for reference, is when Jim talks about where his parents' house is. He's
yes!
Over by the quarry.
"Cool beans, man. Hey, I live by the quarry. We should hang out at the quarry and throw things down there."
Yeah, man. We totally should.
He's like, we should set that up.
That's one of my favorite Creed lines of all time because it's probably the easiest to picture happening. Like I can picture Creed setting up one of those old lawn chairs with the slats in it and just sitting at the edge of the quarry and just chucking stuff in like an old air conditioner, like some
TV.
mung beans.
For some reason, I was picturing a desk chair. Did they talk about that? A chair?
It's not on my list, but basically one of them, when it's the chair model, it's like season 6, episode I think 13 maybe, but he goes like it's called chair model, but he calls Pam and is like, "Any news yet?" And Pam goes, "Nope, not yet." And then he goes, "All right, damn." And then he cuts to a confessional, and it's like when Michael gives Pam his old chair, I'll get Pam's old chair, then I'll have 2 chairs, only one more to go.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's like my first memory of Creed, like really, because this is pretty early, right? The quarry comment, or no?
The quarry is like season 6-ish.
Oh, never mind. Well, that one just sticks out in my mind pretty aggressively.
Yeah, it's one of the more
It gets
memorable
quoted
ones.
a lot. I live by the quarry.
Yeah.
I really want to just like I wanted that to be the like the cold close to the next episode, like to the episode. Just picture like pan out from Creed throwing things into the quarry. I want to see exactly.
See, that'd have been a great way to end
great.
an episode.
I don't know why they didn't think of that, but
That's a great call.
so moving on to number 5 is from season 4, episode 1, Fun Run, where he visits Meredith in the hospital and he mentions all the painkillers. Because she's like, "They have me hopped up on all these different kinds of painkillers." He goes, "What kind? Percocet? Oxycontin?"
Yeah.
And he goes on and on and on. Like, Vicodin? Like,
someone needs to like pull him away or like gently
And
push
then
him aside.
and then she says, and then she's like, I don't know, and he's like, ugh.
Yeah.
He looks around waiting for someone to be disgusted like him. It's also this same episode when it's revealed that he's whatever age he is, like 77. Because you remember he registers for the senior division for the fun run? And Jan's like, you're over 70 years old? He's like, yep, 77 in May or whatever. It's a great one.
So I just found my old list.
Oh, good.
It was my recently
Beautiful
deleted folder. I found it, so we're back on track. It's cool.
Wow.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. So number 4. Are we ready to go number 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in season 8, episode 17. It's Test the Store, and that doesn't have. It's one of that mid-season finale, like mid-season things where they're in Florida, so it's not really office centered. But this one is where Andy gets beaten up by a 5th grade girl.
Oh yeah.
And then Toby's teaching them self-defense. So he goes, just always remember this one. Strike, scream, and run. Let's try it. So Creed gets up, slaps Meredith in the back of the head, goes, "Yay!" And then he runs out of the office.
I actually forgot about that until you started saying it, and it's burned into my brain.
This one could probably move down a little bit, but I think it's the funniest thing is I can't really replicate it, but the noise Creed makes when instead of screaming, he like yelps.
Yeah.
It's like
The sound is not something a person could recreate. It is a yelp is the right way to describe it.
so if you really want to like picture this, listeners, just go to the episode, go like halfway through, listen to it, and then see where you would rank it instead.
We're going to have to watch this later because I don't remember this particular scene.
Oh, it's so I love this
I'm
one
looking
so
at
much.
a picture of Toby in front of a whiteboard
He's
wearing like a
He's in a
turtleneck.
sweatsuit. He's in like a
Yeah.
he's like a crew neck sweater with like gray and then gray sweatpants. And he's
All
like,
gray. It's just a big old grout fit. Oh, so good. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm sorry. This got a quote. This isn't Creed, but it's Toby. Now, if your attacker is willing to defile a corpse, you better stop playing dead right away and just make it known that you're alive. Oh, it's so good. Toby's really thought about all the angles.
that's number 1 on the Toby list. That's number 1.
That's incredible.
That's canon.
Okay. Did you have honorables then?
Oh, I have so many.
Okay, good.
Oh boy.
All right, let her rip.
And we're doing like pretty well on time, so we can kind of go through these.
We're
like,
blasting
slowly,
through
right?
it, so yeah.
Yeah. This is great. This is kind of the ideal. Like, we always want to do this, and then we
Yeah.
manage
Never have
not
done.
to. So this is great.
So my top honorable mention. This is like number 11 on my list.
Yeah.
It's where Ryan comes back from being a cool guy in a job. It's Dunder Mifflin Infinity is the episode. That's season 4, episode 3, I think. Maybe 2. I don't know, give or take. But he comes back and he's in the break room. And there's rumors of an ageist thing going on where they're kicking out the old people and bringing in younger ones. So Creed has his hair dyed black from the printer. And so Ryan's in the break room and Creed like has his dress shirt untucked, his tie is really loose, the sleeves are all rolled up. And then he goes to the vending machine and he looks at Ryan's like Ryan's on the phone too, and he's like, "Can we get some Red Bull for these things? Sometimes a guy just gotta ride the bull. Am I right? Later, skater."
It's incredible. And if I remember correctly, the way they introduce this concept is they do a shot walking behind Creed after he dyes the hair and you don't know who it is, and then all of a sudden you see it's Creed, and it's
Yeah.
just incredible.
That's the like halfway through the episode where it's supposed to be like a start of a new day, because that's one of the 45-minute ones. Yeah, that's how they introduce
Sometimes
it.
you just gotta ride the bull.
I forgot how terrifying that is. You see that it's actually Creed.
Yeah.
Well, because in the same episode, Michael wants to put pictures up on the wall of the conference room. It's like, I wanted to put more pictures up, but all the ink in the printer was gone. And then Creed just looks away like... My next honorable is when Dwight's doing drug testing in the office when Michael is supposedly having like clove cigarettes. And they give him the picture of weed and they give it to Phyllis and she goes,
Yes.
"That's marijuana." And it's like, "How'd you know? It's labeled." And then it gets to Creed and it's like, "That is Northern Lights Cannabis Indica." And it's like, "No, it's marijuana."
It's so good.
I feel like Creed could get you Pineapple Express if you wanted it.
It's amazing that you say that, Kyle, because what I was actually just going to say is the only reason I got that joke when it happened was because I remembered them saying Northern Lights in Pineapple Express. That was the whole reason I got that joke.
I think that I might have been Pineapple Express, but like whenever I hear the term Aurora Borealis, I always think of like it's a strain of weed, which I know nothing about weed, so
I only knew it because it's a Logic song. And one of the albums I sent you last year, it's called Indica Badu, and it's about a strain of weed that Logic smokes particularly. That's the only reason I got it. Like I have no knowledge of weed or anything, but this stuck out to me. Totally off topic, but we're back on now. It's fine. So the next one is also from the episode Money, when Michael goes into to the kitchen area with a table, the same place that Oscar is, and Creed's like behind a paper, and then he's like, "Yeah, I think I should declare bankruptcy." And it's like, declaring bankruptcy is nature's do-over. It's like, get out of jail free cards. You can't pick those up for free on the street. They cost thousands. The fact that he thinks get out of jail free cards like exist in real life.
Hey, they exist on Breaking Bad.
Yeah. I wouldn't. I think my inclination is not to think, LOL, Creed's so dumb. He doesn't know that get out of jail free cards aren't real. My thought is, oh my God, Creed can actually get somebody a get out of jail free card. He has the.
Yeah, that's more my reaction too.
Those things cost thousands.
Yeah. Like Creed knows the guy. He probably knows that guy from Breaking Bad, Mike, the Hoover guy.
Oh, is that how the two
Almost
universes
certainly.
connect?
I'm not even thinking of that guy. That guy too, but I'm thinking about the guy who will go to jail for you.
Oh, that's right. He probably knows both those guys. He kind of looks like the Hoover guy. Like it's impossible they're related.
A Hoover?
Fixed by Hoover?
The
Mr. Hoover Fixer guy?
Hoover Fixer-upper guy?
The next honorable is from Product Recall. It's a season 2 episode, I think. It's where Creed goes, it's a confessional because they have the watermark of 2 beloved cartoon characters doing it. And Creed, it cuts to Creed and he goes, every week I'm supposed to do a 4-hour quality check assurance at the mill. The 1 year I blow it off, this happens.
Incredible.
This is also like along the same lines of, I finished my work months ago. Like I've written 12 plays today.
I finished my work months ago. That's a great line.
Because obviously I don't have an office job. I work at an ice cream shop. But I'm assuming that you cannot finish all of your work months ago in that kind of industry where you're supplying paper to clients.
Well, it depends on your role. Now, if your role specifically is to continually assure the quality of paper as it is produced, then by definition, no. your work is really never done.
Yeah, that's something you don't want to. You don't want people to know that you're done your work. You definitely don't want to advertise that.
No.
The next one is when they're taking new ID photos. It's the same one where Dwight gets his and it's huge because Jim makes it big and laminated, and it calls Dwight a security threat and makes his middle name Fart. Creed, when he sits down, they take the picture and he turns like a mugshot. It's very subtle, but
I forgot about that.
And he's like, "You're good. You're free to go." He's like, "Oh, cool." And he just gets up and keeps walking. The next one is from Conflict Resolution, when Ryan says that Creed has a very distinct old man smell, and it cuts to Creed. He's like, "I know exactly what he's talking about. I sprout mung beans on a damp paper towel on my desk. Very nutritious, but they smell like death."
That's one of my all-time favorites from Creed. I love that one.
Mine too. That's an all-time line.
Stink like death.
That one's hilarious because like I can honestly picture Creed doing other things in his desk, but the fact that it's mung beans and it cuts to a shot of him eating them, and he like has them all in his hand, like the dad grab where you grab a pair of snacks, and then he like just sprinkles them on his face, and he misses like half of them.
The line reading from him is so good when he's just like nodding and he goes, "I know exactly what he's talking about." like how obvious it could be, or how easily you could make the mistake of mung beans for an old man smell, and he just like dismisses the comment. Like, I know exactly what he's talking about.
It's like he's had that complaint lodged against him from anybody he sits by like 5 or 6 times. Like Phyllis with her stinky perfumes. It's like, but Creed has an old man smell from mung beans in his desk.
A lot of smells in that office. The microwave smells like popcorn.
Popcorn.
Crazy world, a lot of smells. It smells like throw up in here. Just pooping, you know how I be.
Oh, it's such a great line.
The next one is when they're at the bar and all those teenagers come in and they all say hi to Creed. Like, Creed, you're the man. He's like, I run a fake ID company from the backseat of my car with a old laminating device I swipe from a police station.
Not ever explained. How did he get in the police station? What was he doing there? How did he swipe it?
I feel like committing a crime is a reasonable explanation for being in a police station.
You know what else is a reasonable explanation? I wouldn't be surprised at all if Creed was a cop before at some point.
I can picture a Mike Ehrmantraut type background where like something happened while he was working as a cop in Philly.
I feel like the thing to do would be say Creed was in the military, because in the finale they say that he stole weapons grade LSD from the military, so it's possible he was dishonorably discharged.
I don't imagine he was honorably discharged. I believe Kramer was honorably discharged. I don't remember, but he was in the military too.
I think Kramer and Creed would get along
quite well, I tend to think. Them and Bob Sacamano.
Wow, I'd really like to see that.
Yeah, that would be a fun mashup.
All right, hook it up. Get NBC on the line.
Yeah.
Michael Richards and Creed Bratton are both free.
Definitely.
The next honorable is last person to steal from Creed Bratton disappeared. His name, Creed Bratton. So we learn that his name isn't even really Creed Bratton. It's probably William Charles Schneider or any number of bad names. But, I mean,
yeah, that is probably
Creed.
true.
You know it's not Creed. Another honorable is where he is going to get fired, but then he's like, Devin sucks. Fight it like the old days. Like, because he thinks that Michael and him have some kind of, like, old-timey connection when Michael's like, what old day? What are you talking about? Like, that's in season 2.
Was it implied that, like, for a time it was only Michael and, like, Creed is one of the first employees of the Scranton branch?
I would imagine, since he's
because he's one of the
70.
only ones who knows anything about the old boss, whose Kappa gets detated. If you remember.
Whole thing, we had a funeral for a bird.
A bird. You're not real, man.
Yeah, you're not real.
But he does like make reference to the old days. So.
And then my last honorable is where it's from season, I think, 5. It's Casual Fridays. It's one of the finales of season 5, where they're all come back from the Michael Scott Paper Company. And so then Jim doesn't want any part of it because he knows that Michael will think he's biased. But then everyone else will also think he's biased. So Jim's like, you know what? I'm just going to hang out in the conference room or the break room with Creed, playing games. And so they're playing chess. And it's like, if you do that, I'm going to do that. If you do that, I'm going to do that. If you do that, I'm going to do that. And then he's like, what if I you don't want to do that?
That scene always reminds me of the scene from 500 Days of Summer when Tom is playing chess he's watching the chess game between the angel and the demon, or the angel and the knight, or whatever it is.
I need to watch that movie again. I haven't seen that in a long
reminds
time.
me of the Pixar short In Front of Bug's Life where that old man is playing chess against himself.
Oh.
Yeah.
Actually, that could be Creed.
Probably is Creed.
That's
Fighting
the
over a
connection.
pair of
William
ninjas.
Charles Schneider.
Yeah.
Those are all my honorables that I can think of right now.
Let's save ours, because I have
Yeah.
some of the ones I'm thinking of might make the top 3.
So the top 3, the number 3 comes from season 3, episode 21. It's Women's Appreciation. This is when Michael takes all of the women from the office to the mall because he wants their advice on how he should break up with Jan. And so it leaves all the men in the office.
That's right.
And so then Kevin suggests that they should go to the women's room and just hang out in there. And then they're all just in there reading magazines because the women's room at Dunder Mifflin has like a couch and a chair and candles. And then Creed comes in.
That's how it was on Boy Meets World too.
There's only one stall too. But then Creed comes in and is like, what are you guys doing in here? This is the woman's room. It's like, you're in here. I pay for that privilege. And then it cuts to him in a confessional. And he goes, I'm a pretty normal guy. I do one weird thing. I like to use the ladies' room for number 2. I've been caught several times and I have paid dearly. And the best part about that is he has like a Walkman and like the old headphones and he's screaming at the camera because he has to.
I think My favorite part about that line is that Creed believes that that's the weird thing about himself. He's like, that is the one weird thing I do.
I do one weird thing. And then after he comes in there and he gets in the stall, then they all the men like get up and leave. Yeah, like at the same time, they all go. And then later in the episode, Pam is in there. And then Creed walks in like, hey, Creed. Like, it's just normal for him to barge into the women's room.
Isn't she at the mirror and he, like, comes to the mirror up next to her and they're both just, like, at the sinks or something?
I think he just walks in and goes straight into the stall and they just totally dismiss it.
That's so good.
They don't really make a big deal of it anymore. They just kind of just like, hey,
I can't think of anything scarier than Creed in the women's restroom, but it's kind of alarming that they've become so comfortable with it.
Because he's in there.
It's a fairly terrifying prospect.
So both number 2 and number 1 are from the same episode.
Whoa.
Because there's actually only 1 or 2 episodes of the entire series that are Creed based. And of course, I'm talking about Search Committee Part 1, where Creed is the manager. So the first of my top 2, being number 2, is when it's the cold open and it has a whiteboard and he goes, Bo Body. What's the first B stand for? And then Pam looks up and is like, what are we doing? We're making acronyms, Pam. What's the first B stand for? Business. I like it. Good, Kevin. Good. And it's BIZNUSS. We need a new manager.
Bo Body.
The way he talks to Pam is like, what the fuck do you think we're doing? We're doing acronyms. Like, we're making acronyms, Pam. Like,
it's definitely a testament to what a great character he is that, like, none of us had any idea we would ever see this or that we wanted to see this. And as a long time, very loyal viewership, we all really enjoyed this. Like, this should have just been a weird, stupid detour, but it's a truly wonderful moment in the show's history.
It was like a 2 or 3 episode thing where he's manager. Because the whole point is Joe is like, well, who has the most experience in the branch? They have statistically probably got to be the best manager. And it's like, oh, you don't want to do that because everyone knows it's Creed. And she's like, who is it? And then even though it's Creed, she still appoints him as manager for that whatever like acting manager is that period of time while the search committee decides on Robert California.
I think I had seen that long before I started watching The Office. Like, that's a clip that gets shared.
Yeah.
I think probably because it hits so close to home. Like, when people are asked to, like, help come up with, like, company slogans and, like... also, like, the aggressive use of acronyms and business speak. Like, it hits in a lot of different ways, and Creed really sells it.
Well, my guess is that they were just like, hey, Creed, just what's some, like, gibberish word you can think of for this next scene that we're going to do? He's like, Bo Body, let's put it on the board. And then Kevin improvised business, because Kevin gets wildly more unintelligent as the series goes on.
It's true.
Yes. I feel like, as we're going through this list, one thing I'm finding a little surprising is that they never ran into one of those budgetary issues where they would do an episode like The Fly from Breaking Bad, but instead like The Creed, where they were like, shit, we have no money for this episode, let's just have Creed do a bunch of stuff. Because I feel like that would have helped them survive a couple of those early droughts.
Where it's just like, okay, Creed, go.
Yeah, just do whatever.
No
Bo Body. Like, just do Bo Body for a half hour. People will watch that.
I would be into that.
And my number 1, in my opinion, top Creed moment is also from the same episode. Literally seconds before Bo Body happens. Creed pulls up in a nice car to Dunder Mifflin. Goes, another beautiful morning at Dunder Mifflin, or as I like to call it, Great Bratton. Keep running. And he throws his keys almost into the hedges. And he doesn't have he turns his car off, right? Throws the keys, says, keep it running. And he just leaves the door open in the middle of the parking lot.
That's a 10 on degree of difficulty and a 10 on execution. It's so perfect. That's one of the most perfect moments in The Office's history.
Also from this episode, I just want to make this episode number 1 because then you also see on this side of the room, Jim, Ted, Phyllis, Ben, Elroy. On this side of the room, Elroy. He never called a meeting. We can talk about
the names are the best. I love when he calls Daryl Darnell.
Yeah. Because that's a consistent joke, I think. Darnell's a chump. I would have done it for free.
Yeah.
I've done a lot more for a lot less.
A lot less.
That's a good one. I love that line.
So that's my list.
Darnell's a chump. I got a few here. I'm sure yours will be more than mine, Mike. So do you mind if I go first?
No, let her rip.
My favorite Creed moment is the murder mystery party where Creed walks in and Michael says, "There has been a murder, and you, sir, are a suspect."
Let me just settle in. I'll be right back.
Sure thing, boss.
I want to take a related moment because there's two moments where this same thing happens. There's that, and then there's
on
Halloween.
Halloween.
He comes in with the bloody shirt.
I didn't realize everyone dressed up here every year. Me neither. Also, Creed's worked there for at least 9 years at that point, and there's been a Halloween party 8 of those 9 seasons.
Right.
Whereas he is dressed up. He's dressed up. He was Joker. He was Joker that one Halloween. Creed,
Let's
I've been
put
up
a
since
smile
4.
on that face.
I've been up since 4. So he knows people dressed up. I think he actually murdered someone and then left it and just presumably.
It's good.
Although I will say this is good, strong evidence against the case, against the he's the Scranton Strangler case, because it would have been breaking his MO.
That's true. Typically,
unless he dismembered them after he strangled them.
Yeah, maybe he is into disfiguring corpses.
Yeah, he's the overkill killer like Dwight.
Except he just doesn't harvest just the teeth and the fingernails. He just takes limb by limb.
Speaking of that makes me think of the CPR episode where someone says something like, "Does he have insurance?" And he's like, "No, I checked his wallet, nothing on him."
Yes, it's incredible.
Dwight says what do we do next, Rose? It's I don't know. If he's an organ donor, we have minutes to harvest. And it's does he have an organ donor card? And then he's an organ donor. And Michael goes, he doesn't have a wallet. I checked.
Yeah. When what's her face? Aaron does a cartwheel. It's just, I did it. The perfect cartwheel. Fuck you!
Fuck you! Can we bleep that out?
That was one of the ones right at the top of my list.
It gets bleeped out in the show, and everyone's like, "Oh, Creed, whoa!" That's the weirdest thing I've seen him do.
Is that? And then do they interview him right after that? And he goes, "If I can't do it, or no,
that's Scuba.
If I can't scuba, what is this all for?" But that's not the same. That's not the same episode, is it?
No. The episode you're talking about is Classy Christmas Party, which is about the back half of season 6. The one where he talks about scuba is season 6, episode 1. That's Gossip, where Michael spreads a rumor about Creed.
Yes, that's right.
It's if I have asthma, I can't scuba.
What else do I have here? Oh, when they bring those kids in and he's bringing them around and talking to people. Oh. And what do you do? Tell the kids what you do, Creed. And then cut to the interview and he's, "What do I do here? Quabbity, quabbity, quabbity." That's not it, but I'm getting close.
Well, I want to use that same episode where he talks about how he lost the toe and he's like, it just fell off.
So you're thinking about
to take his shoe off.
You're thinking about 2 different episodes. The one where he talks to the kids is Take Your Daughter to Work Day, and Michael brings him over to Creed's desk, and he's like, "This is Creed. He's the manager of something." He's like, "That is correct. I do something." And it's "You ever seen a foot with 4 toes?" And he takes tries to take his shoe off. The quavity I had on my original list before revisions is where Holly comes the first time in Goodbye Toby, and then he's like, "I'm really looking forward to sitting down and learning more about what it is you do here." And it's like, "Anytime." And he goes, "What do you do here?" "Excuse me." And he goes, he's hiding behind the fridge. Is like, "Who's this nosy woman asking questions that are nobody's business? What do I do here? Oh, I should have written it down. Quabity Ashwitz." No, that's not it. But I'm getting close.
Last one is a really great under the radar moment where Jim is escaping from Robert California. He doesn't want to talk to his wife and him. And so he climbs onto the roof and Creed is flying a drone. And Jim says, "Creed, you never saw me here." Creed goes, "Sure, man. What about your friend?" It's just Jim. Jim's entirely alone. What was Creed doing on the roof?
Why was he flying a drone during office hours?
Clearly on drugs, flying a drone on the roof of an office building. That's as Creed as it
Sure,
gets.
man. What about your friend?
Sure, man. What about you, Mike? Any others?
Just a couple. One is the line where he says, "Have you ever noticed that you can only use 2 things, sexuality and pus?" That's a favorite of mine. I like the one when they play the game to see if they can replace his, I think, apple with a potato, and they can, and he just eats the potato, bites right into it.
Doesn't skip a beat, just straight into
No, I love the worm one where he says that wasn't a tapeworm. After he sells Kelly the worm.
Who's your worm guy?
And then for the decapitation, when Ed Truck gets decapitated and he says, you know, did you know, I gotta get the exact line. You know, a human can go on living for several hours after being decapitated. Dwight says, you're thinking of a chicken. Creed says, what did I say?
So that you just said is actually number 5 on my list, but I had to skip it because when I deleted my list, I had to skip one. So
It's a great line.
What did I say?
What did I say?
Or when Michael is talking about, like, they're talking about how he has money problems, and he's like, why would I buy a fish when I can catch one with a 5-cent worm? It's like, you're paying way too much for worms, man. Who's your worm guy?
Who's your worm guy?
Who's your worm guy? Yep.
Wow. We have timed this episode beautifully because we now have a few minutes to re-rank if we want and bid our dues. Do you want to do any re-ranking here, Michael?
You know, honestly, I don't. I think this list is pretty beautiful as is. I think we've registered our points of interest. And I think you and I both know where we stand in this pyramid of expertise.
Yeah, I think our final list is great. I think you picked the right top 2. Like, those are definitely probably my 2 favorite Creed moments. I think we've also kind of run the gamut in terms of other Creed quotes. I'm interested to hear which ones we missed. I'm sure there are a couple of them, but I imagine any Office fan and any fan of Creed in general is pretty satisfied with where we've ended up.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think they have to be.
The only ones that I think could even come off are, like, I don't know, like 10. Because 9 through 1 is pretty solid, but even then, I don't know how to replace 10 with.
The problem is that there's so many good ones that I don't even know what I would stump for to replace it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, I'm good with where this is.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts there, Ian?
I don't think so.
Well, you've done it again. So why don't you recap our list here? Or did you want to... You did mention that our final list was a little different than the one that you had originally because you accidentally somehow...
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to reorder it at all, or do you want to just stick with what we came up with on the fly?
The only one that changed was the human can go on living for several hours. That just came off. And that was replaced at number 5, and painkillers was 6, and then you just bump everything down 1. But I feel like even though I think it's just fine the way it is.
Let's leave it.
Yeah.
Why don't you recap us and we'll GTFO.
All right. So number 10 is when Creed Bratton gets in trouble, he transfers all his debt to William Charles Schneider. Number 9 is Andrea's the office bitch. You get used to it. Hi, Creed. Number 8 is in the 60s, the homosexuality thing. Many women offered in the mud and the rain. Possible a man slipped in. There'd be no way knowing. Number 7 is www.creedthoughts.gov./www.3creedthoughts. Number 6 is throw things down there in the quarry. Number 5 is when he lists off the painkillers when Meredith is in the hospital with rabies and a broken pelvis. Number 4 is the strike, scream, and run from self-defense. Number 3 is paying to use the women's room and being caught several times. Number 2 is Bo Body making acronyms.
Business.
And number 1 is another day at beautiful Thunder Mifflin, or as I like to call it, Great Bratton. Keep it running. And he throws his keys out. That is the Creedcast, I believe.
That's the Creedcast. Well done there, Ian.
Thank you.
This is incredible. You are a man of great talent. What I think is incredible is you managed to mine territory that has been explored by many others and give us fresh content. Like, this is crazy that you're capable of delivering an excellent episode on a topic that a lot of people have thought about.
Thanks, Mike.
I agree. So, thank you, Ian. And of course, I always take this time to thank our boy, Kevin. Not Kevin from The Office. I'm talking about Kevin McLeod.
No, not Ashton Kutcher. It's Kevin Malone.
Not Ashton Kutcher.
So, thank you, Kevin, for our stanky, now top 3 music and the intro music, of course. And then usually I thank my sister, Erin, for our artwork, which is stanky in its own right. And if you wanted to see more of Erin's stylings, they're always available on Instagram at Sant Design.
And now is, I think, a good time to thank my fiancée and our social media director, Caroline Labranti. She is holding it down for us on our Instagram, Top 10 KM on Insta. That's 10 spelled out TEN. If you want to see her personal stuff on Instagram, you check that out at cml.photos. If you've got thoughts you want to share to us at creedthoughts.gov.whatever, you could actually just send those directly to our email address, which is top10km@gmail.com, with the 10 spelled out TEN. Let us know all the ways that Ian's manly voice and interesting stylings and great ranking ability has gotten you revved up on this episode. Just kidding. He's under 18. Don't send us that feedback. But he was wonderful, so tell us how great he was on our email account. And I'm sure you're listening to us on some sort of podcasting app, but if you're looking for another one, we are on the Apple Podcast app, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, pretty much wherever podcasts can be found. So, gentlefolk, that's what I have to say.
I think that's all there is to say. Great work, team.
Yeah, Ian, you gave us a great episode, and you gave us our first, comfortably under an hour in many weeks.
We did it. We're gonna be the perfect podcast.
And if we praise you long enough, we might push it over an hour.
Yeah. So, with that said, arrivederci. Good.
Arrivederci.
Peace.